Greetings! Welcome to the devlog for update 119 of hot dogs, horseshoes, and hand grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure your speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for this week? Well, it is that special day of the year where we Americans do what we do best, which is blow everything up. And so to go with that, with this most auspicious of days, I have added 6 more ways to blow things up into the game. And after we take a look at those, I've got a very important announcement for you. But toys first, let's check these out. To go obviously with the name of our game, it seemed even more appropriate to, it's been a while since I put in some grenades. And so I have a series of 6 brand new grenades for the game. So let's go ahead and put all of these into our quick belt. Let's tap our touchpad over our slots there to duplicate. Pull out our panel of semi-willing volunteers. Spawn a couple SOSIGs. So the first group of these are replicating some of the effects that have been in the squirrels that folks have wanted in grenade form for a while. So an example of this is the Cryonade. If I remember right, this is an impact grenade. So if we throw this, that SOSIG there, boom! We get the iced effect on it. In addition to creating these little ice shards, this imparts the cool down buff, debuff on our SOSIGs. So they're more brittle to blunt damage, they move and react slower, and their voices are kind of lowered when they speak. So notice how the links actually just want to pop and explode, even though this is 22. There we go. There we go. Wonderful. Thank you, volunteers. Volunteer group number 2. We have the Napalm grenade, which is basically like, the folks have wanted a grenade version of the Molotov that isn't quite so easy to, like, knock into and blow things up or light yourself on fire using. And so this is very, very similar to the Molotov, except it also has some incendiary shrapnel in it. Boom! So we get a bunch of motes of flame that come off of it and a couple shrapnel pieces. It's not super duper reliable, but is definitely useful in holding down a hallway and taking hold. Boom. Oh man, looks like the impact actually knocked that SOSIG to the side and prevented it from getting lit on fire. That may need a little bit of tweaking still. It's honestly the one out of all of them that I've tested the least, and you will see why in a bit. There is the grossest one that we have here, which is the Tox grenade, which is similar to our toxic squirrel over there, which causes damage over time and causes them to vomit themselves to death. Oh. See, that is why you don't eat a 4th of July hot dog that has been sitting out in the sun for too long. Wow. Oh, that one's still going. It has a little bit left in it. So that's actually a bug, but it's so funny that I decided to leave it there. So yeah, so that's your Tox grenade. Very effective, but not very fast involving doing things. This one as well is just couldn't pass up an opportunity for a pun. This is the mustard gas grenade. Once again, matches what's inside the squirrel. Yeah. Come on, go off. It's not an impact grenade. It has a... There we go. Which puts the SOSIGs to sleep for a little bit. I think it's like 10 to 15 seconds or so. Oh, look at them there, taking a little nap. Sleeping on the job. Unacceptable! And they should all stand back up in a moment. Keep whacking my hand on things in my tracked range because I don't clean my living room before doing this. Come on, wake back up. Come on. Wow. We'll clear this up. That was supposed to be 10 to 15 seconds, but it appears to be lasting longer, so I need to figure out why. Cool. That's bug number 2. All right, now on to the ridiculous ones. So this one took a little while to do. This took a little trial and error. But I would like to present to you the first very high-tech one. This is the laser grenade. You can see it has a little laser emission module there. Pop that out. Throw it. It's going to stand up. Ha-ha!
Oh, dear. So do I have to hunt you now?
Wonderful. So yeah, let's see if we can use it without it cutting our heads off. And it has a little bit of torque, so it tries to really rotate to be vertical. So you got to hold it above your head to not have it cut your own head off. Oh, that is just delightful. But yeah, if you want to absolutely control just a room or a hallway for, I believe this runs for between 8 and 10 seconds. There's a little bit of variability in the fuse. But yeah, I don't know. I love doing these kind of wild sci-fi things. Oh, threw that one a little too far. As you can see, because the rotation speed with it, there's a little bit of variability to their effectiveness based on range. Even though the laser is going very far, it's rotating so fast, and it's a pulsed laser that SOSIGs across a wide room aren't going to necessarily be hit by it. Let's see if we can use one to just like clean up the bodies here. There we go. Oh, oh man! I think the laser actually just set off some of the SOSIG grenades. That was wonderful. I love chain reactions. All right, and now we have our final of the grenades. This one is something, but is wonderfully awful. I give you the grav grenade. Do note, for reasons you're about to see, this is the most performance intense of them. I wanted to do this for a while. Grav grenade. Oh gosh! I love it! I love the grav grenade so much. Yeah, we can actually just use the SOSIG spawn panel here. Just get a mixture of them. Let's watch that one more time. So basically, as you can see, it pops up, it turns off gravity for itself, it becomes high mass, high drag, and it just drags other objects around it into its singularity. Oh gosh! It's quite unpredictable in exactly the way it moves and acts, in part because it's getting pushed around by the physics force that is being imparted on the objects being dragged towards it. So it can end up getting stuck against a wall, a floor, a ceiling, all sorts of stuff. Oh, it's crushing them! It's crushing them! Wonderful. I love it. I love it. And I know some of you will probably immediately ask, can we get sucked into the grenade? You absolutely can. Let's get sucked into a grenade, folks. Oh gosh! Oh, I'm in the meat sphere! I can't escape the meat sphere! Boom. I exploded. So there you have it. There is our collection of new, ridiculous tech grenades. These will show up in appropriate pools and characters in Take and Hold. Obviously, the less realistic characters will get the goofy grenades. The more realistic characters will only get the, like, plausible ones. And Ricky gets them all! I love it. It's like it does something slightly different every single time, and that really is the best thing about a physics-based sandbox, is it just keeps surprising you. Anywho, let's jump out of VR and talk about something incredibly, incredibly important. Yo! All right, announcement time. After almost 10 years of continuous development, we're excited to announce that Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades H3VR is coming out of early access this fall. That's right, our 1.0, our update 120, which is going to be called our extremely late access update, is going to be our focus between now and as I said, about late fall. A super long experimental branch, iterative process, a long update cycle to button the project up, at least to be able to change that little sticker for it on its Steam store page. So what does that all mean? What's the focus? What does that constitute? So this release is, to my mind, all about player-generated content and ensuring that H3 is buttoned up for our mod community to continue to grow their creations on top of it stably into the future. We've got three major sort of feature pillars in terms of what this update is going to be. The first of which is that we are going to be adding or shipping with the game an external content authoring tool for designing a bunch of the data types that are inside the game, that will be able to actually read the data that ships with the game. One of them is a take and hold character designer, first party. So being able to configure era, starting equipment, object tables, progressions, what encryption it uses, all of the difficulty parameters. You'll be able to design one of those directly in that tool. A SOSIG designer, which would obviously be important for that. So being able to come up with a specific enemy configuration, what outfit they're using, what weapons they're using, what their various stats are, how difficult or easy they are to fight. And what's called an object table designer. So it's the ability to basically go, okay, there's a table that exists within the game, and it has rifles with this capacity to that capacity, and this era to that era, and tying those together, as you need to use those two data types to design a take and hold character. The in-game tools, this is our second pillar. We're going to be wrapping up the game planner scenario tools that we started years ago at this point, because we basically added the scenario saving, that all works. We added a whole bunch of targets and fun toys to use, that all works. But we never actually got in with some way of having a bunch of objects communicate to each other, some sort of object wiring tool set. And so that's what we're going to be putting in. It'll be part of the toolbox with the various pistol tools, as well as a bunch of the buttons, switches, and plungers and stuff that I had shown off ages ago, structured for a new, cleaner, better system than the one that I had originally been playing, that I sort of brick-walled on. So, and then the third part, which is in many ways the most important for everything that I've just talked about, which is that we're actually going to be putting Steam Workshop support in for the game for user-authored content. And so take and hold characters, SOSIGs, object tables, scenarios that you save, loadouts that you create for yourself, and custom gun configurations. Those will all be data types that you'll be able to share on the Steam Workshop, download, use inside your game. So yeah, that was a lot to get out. As you can tell, I'm probably, I'm entirely made of nerves right now. This is just to take a break from official announcement stuff. This is something that has just a tremendous amount of emotional weight for me, because this has been like the past decade of my life. And there's been a lot of time, especially like working with my friends and collaborators who've been like, sorry, are we ever going to get out of early access here? We go, like, what does 1.0 even look like for H3? This has been something I've been asked for years. And each time it's like, error, no reference not found. It's been too scary for me to even think about that. And so what I thought would be good to segue right into with this is that I've written up an FAQ. I'm still editing it, but it probably has within it all of the questions that are popping into your head right now about this topic. So I'm just going to go ahead and read that and riff off of it a bit, and we can just get into the weeds for this. So the first question: H3 has been in early access so long, why even leave it at all? And so, and part of it is that, like, early access sounds silly at all after 9 years. Like, yeah, early to what? My eventual death? Truth be told, I got myself into an awkward position for this, for just the length of time that we've been doing this in, because early access to me has always just meant, like, This is just a live project. It's an experiment that is just ongoing. It's whatever I feel like it is week after week after week. And so because of that, because it's always been this set of experiments and it's a sort of broad sandbox, it's never had a kind of, there's a clean and obvious ending to early access for lots of types of games. Not so much a sandbox game experiment collection VR thing. And so for me, like especially given that like what we do is in cooperation and symbiosis with a large creator community that has already made so many things, and that there's always been some degree of necessary development friction with that, and that like I go to change a bunch of things and oh my goodness, a whole bunch of things have broken. Some of the content that exists out in the modding sphere is no longer being actively updated. How do I deal with that? And frankly put, because like even in the past, there have been some like major modding initiatives. Like there is an H3 multiplayer mod that has been around for a while. It was, from everything I heard, incredibly labor intensive to keep updated because of all of the changes I made. And eventually the creator moved on from it, I'm sure because of just the insane volume of work for that. But lots of folks enjoy that. Putting all those things together, it makes sense to me to put a milestone in the ground and be like, all right, here's a fixed date. Here's a moment where the core API, the core systems of the game, its central code base is not going to change at this point. People can safely build on it, safely expand it, do whatever they want. And I'm not going to walk in and just kick over the tower of Legos because I get an idea. I'm going to just redo all of blah, blah, blah. It makes sense to finally put that in the sand. And so, and having that sort of milestone is really clarifying because it gives me a formal date to be like, all right, there's a bunch of like open-ended design things that I've worked on in the past that I should just finish. I should finish those things. And then live with those design decisions going forward. So, which is terrifying for someone like myself who is, I mean, if you're here, if you've watched this video, you know that I'm a terminal dabbler. I am ADHD AF. And, but I think this in general is the healthiest thing for the project and just like for our mod community that has already like taken all of the, their time and blood, sweat, and tears to make thousands of awesome things for this game. And so, yeah. And most importantly, I would love to have a sort of culminating and celebratory moment for the game where we do essentially like a last very big resource push. I'm bringing in a bunch of extra people to work on this. Nathan, who has been one of the like central pillars of our mod community for many years, who's basically, if you load custom levels in H3, you have Nathan to thank for that, is working very, very closely with me for these tools. So these are tools that have the mod community in their mind first and foremost, to hybridize in with those things. And so I see this as a way of working like with that community to bring this to just a really great culminating moment. Moving on, because otherwise I'll just ramble just on that topic forever. So does this mean the game won't be getting updates anymore? What kind of support will the game get going forward? Is there still going to be a meat miss? So first off, don't worry, the game is not going to get no updates going forward. But our focus is going to shift towards basically maintenance and holidays is going to be the focus. So we're going to be making sure that as new headsets come out, as Steam VR changes and breaks a thing or what have you, things about just the stack that undergird the game for basically as long as Valve decides to keep Steam VR running, I'm going to keep trying to keep this game running. And of course, I don't think you would have to literally tie me down to the ground to prevent me from doing holiday content. Because that is still, to this day, probably my favorite thing to do with the game. It's probably not going to be an advent calendar going forward. I can't afford to spend the like several months that it takes to put one of those together. But there'll be some fun meat miss hijinks and toys to be had. Truth be told, each year those are as much like gifts to myself as they are anyone else. So yeah, what about parenthesis thing I'd always hoped you'd put in the game? What about thing I saw you work on in a devlog that isn't mentioned here. So one of the most difficult things about doing open development, it has always been one of the most difficult things running this channel, doing videos like this, is that the creative process, like most people who don't work on games don't understand that when you work on something like software, when you work on something like games, you throw out most of the things that you try, and that this is an inseparable component of creation. Just because I present something in a video and it looks super done and it looks super playable and refined doesn't mean that it's any of those things. Doesn't mean that it's even stable enough to ship. And so just the nature of this process means that a bunch of stuff that looked, that if I had decided to put another 3 months, another 6 months, another year, etc., into, could have been brought to completion if I had not worked on other things, means that there'll be cool stuff that is in the history of this channel that will just never get done, or will never get even close to done. It's just the nature of the process. And all I can say is that I'm sad about a lot of those things too. So, but it's as I said, it's the double-edged sword of doing this all and showing you this whole process in the first place, instead of what almost every other game creator does, which is exclusively show off things when they are close to done, or in the sort of central product that they intend to commit to, no matter what. So we've always done things a bit different here, and this is one of the things that kind of stinks about it. So yeah, next question. What kinds of stuff will I be able to put on the Steam Workshop? I think I covered this before, but our goal is to basically put all the content that you're able to author inside the game and use our upcoming external authoring tool up on the Steam Workshop. Gonna load out configs, save scenarios, SOSIG outfit configs, procedural object pool definitions, take and hold characters. What about mods on the Steam Workshop? No, we are not doing mods on the Steam Workshop, as I've covered in the past in the FAQ. The mod community still runs its own ship. They're going to continue to run their own ship over on Thunderstore. This is the relationship that I prefer with all of this, and that I think they prefer. I don't think they want to have to filter what they do through our content policies, and the fact that as a game maker, like, you look out, in the space of like, game makers get DMCAs now for content that modders make. I don't want to even have to deal with that. I don't want to have to be a cop in regards to that. And so I think it's best that we maintain the relationship that's been, and I think it's served both parties best. So, will this update break any of my mods? So this is a big one. So yes. So part of the reason for doing this as an extended experimental cycle is that there is a fairly central mod called Take and Hold Tweaker that is no longer updated and conflates a bunch of functionality into sort of one messy mod. And so it makes it incredibly difficult to step around what that modification does to be able to do certain work, especially because, just for a little background, the way that code mods work with the structure is that they can either prepend and append modifications to, like, a method in something, a list of instructions in the game, or they can just wholesale replace it. And the problem with that is that I go to fix a bug in a method and I don't know that that mod has just replaced that method. So no change that I make in code ends up getting respected by that mod. And so in this case, we're going to be making some significant changes to Take and Hold's code base to be able to support user authored content via our tool. And so tons of stuff is going to break. And because of the fact that I have to pull a bunch of wires out and make that all work well, I'm going to use this opportunity to do one last, like, top to bottom code pass to improve it. I've already found like 3 or 4 bugs that have been in there for like 5 or 6 years somehow. And so because of that, and because of the fact that Take and Hold Tweaker isn't updated anymore, and it would just be a tremendous amount of work, frankly put, for it to even update to what the changes I'm going to make,
you should expect that mod and everything that depends upon that mod to break and probably not to be fixed. And so now, granted, all or most of the sort of custom stuff that was done using it will have some form available in our official tooling for this. And so on the plus side, anyone who is still around who wants to convert their old custom take and hold characters to our no system will be able to do so, and they'll have a whole bunch of time to do so before this feature set launched. On the downside, it will be a little bit of a pain in the ass. I know there'll be a lot of users who don't pay attention to updates very well, and they just have a mod list. It's like 1,000 things long, and they're like, oh, great, now I got to find the things in my mod list that are going to air out. So I apologize ahead of time for the pain of that. And I do want to also just offer the fig leaf that we keep in our beta branches drop down past versions of the game available in perpetuity. It goes all the way back to update 111. And so if there's stuff that you have a particular emotional attachment to in H3 that isn't going to get updated, I'm not cutting off your access to being able to play that. You will still be able to go into the betas drop down, pick update 119 or 118 or 117, etc., going back and still play the game with those mods as normal. But as I said, that's part of the reason I want to do a very long experimental cycle for this. There'll be some friction in this updating process, but I want to make it as clear and smooth as humanly possible for modders, and a lot of it will be occurring over the summer into the early fall, which is hopefully when folks have a bunch of spare time. All right, last couple short questions. Are there going to be a bunch of guns in the update too? You betcha, amongst other things. Holy moly, I didn't think you folks would ever get to this point. How's it feel? It feels extremely weird. I feel very old at this point. I think there's the moment, truth be told, part of the reason I think I want to do this is the moment you say you've been working on a game for 10 years, I'm fairly certain you just turn into the Crypt Keeper or that dude in that Indiana Jones movie who just skeletonizes. Yeah, it's, I've been doing this for too long. Oh my goodness. But I still love it. So if you're coming out of early access, does that mean you're working on something else? Yes. As many of you have, as I've mentioned, I think a couple times on the channel and the Discord, we have another big project that we are working on. Don't have anything to say about it yet. Won't probably until next year. But it's going well and it's going to be awesome. I assure you. And then finally, very important, last question of the FAQ. Are you going to finally add the F2000 and Mark 14 EBR into the game? No. Absolutely not. Anyway, so goes our FAQ. And so with that, the last thing we just have to do in this devlog is to do our most important section of every devlog now. All right, folks, it's time for something that I'm sure I'm going to regret, which is that it's time for a special 4th of July episode of Hot Dog or Not Dog. I had struggled for a little bit to figure out what was going to be the most appropriate thing for this moment, because appropriate in this instance isn't just about the old red, white, and blue. It's about stupid things. It's about H3. It's about absurdism. And so to go with our wonderful looking hot dog, the thing we're going to be trying out today is the most celebratory of toppings perhaps made in the entire country, and that is Pillsbury Funfetti vanilla frosting with sprinkles and more. So let's go ahead and get this out. Smells like the most delicious desserty chemicals possible. Let's just glaze that on. There we go. Oh, just look at that. That's an American wiener right there. And so we've got our Funfetti frosting. Got to get some, I'm just going to get these all over the floor doing this. Got to get some Funfetti. Now this is where I was a little disappointed, because I looked at our Funfetti and I was like, the colors aren't quite right on it. that's not Murica enough. And so thankfully, Amazon is a wonderful place. And I found these from Seguzo. Okay, some red, white, and blue food grade. When it says food grade, you should always be worried. Sprinkles. I'm a little worried because there's some that's the size of a multivitamin. That's not a sprinkle anymore. If that's pure sugar, I'm gonna break my tooth on that. So let's pour a little bit of our red, white, and blue food grade sprinkles, and then just to really, wow, that's one of the multivitamin ones. That'll be good. And of course, finally, to make sure it's the most H3 hot dog possibly imaginable, we have some cupcake toppers of a gun. We've got a nice classic looking revolver and a gold Thompson. Perfect. There we go. Hot dog or not dog, our patriotic funfetti hot dog. This is going to be awful. I just know it. Here we go. Oh man, it's weird. Oh, a couple of the sprinkles are real crunchy. Let's get that off there. Why have I done this? I just have to swallow a couple of those sprinkles whole. They're hard as a rock. Food grade. My ass. So, the experience of this is sort of like when you're at a 4th of July barbecue with your family and you're using the same paper plate for like your hot dog and your potato salad and the piece of cake or something, and just some of the food gets mixed together and you just take a bite of something and you're like, was that frosting on that bite? That's what this hot dog tastes like. I think it and for that reason alone, I think it transcends the crude binary of hot or not dog, and sort of it's above that distinction entirely. It merely is, or rather was. As there's no way I'm finishing this. This will definitely be going right into the trash. But thank you for being here with me as I experienced. Yeah. Oh! I'm gonna break a tooth on this. The Funfetti food grade sprinkle hot dog, which is most yeah. Let's just get these sprinkles back out of my mouth. Hopefully that wasn't a piece of a molar. Anywho, I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful and safe holiday. For those of you who are playing around firecrackers and fireworks, please be safe. Do not blow your fingers off. Only blow your wieners off inside our game. It is safe to set off chain reactions of explosions in H3, not in real life. Please be safe, stay healthy. I will be around as always to answer questions about stuff in this devlog. Yeah, a momentous moment indeed. So, anywho, have a wonderful long weekend. Stay safe, and I'll see you all soon. Peace.